Welcome again to another week.
That's quite an opening, I'll tell you that right now. I mean, everybody here, is everybody alive and well?
Yeah.
Let's all hold hands and contact the living. Don't start, moron. All right, I'm looking at that hat. We'll discuss that later. I'm sorry.
The hat's a little better this week.
This is not an easy thing. I want you wrestling fans to know this is not an easy thing. Rick, please. Rick, continue.
We have some surprise attractions tonight.
Yo, we do.
Once you get
Big night. Big night on Wrestling Head to Head tonight.
What is it? Go ahead.
So don't wander. Stay where you are, because coming up, you don't know what we have in store for you next. So, but I'll start you off with a little bit of news.
You're sick.
So it's time to call up your
uncle. You're getting as sick as he is, all right? Believe me. I'm not going to say nothing. I've been sitting here biting my tongue.
The hat's pretty good this week.
But
the hat's pretty good this week.
Here's the problem.
Yep.
We know that he's an oxymoron. You're getting there. Believe me. Every week you're closer.
Now, why are you picking on him now?
Because he deserves to be picked on, all right? Don't tell me that.
Rick, you know what? I think next week I sit in the middle, you'll sit at the end, then he can't reach you.
Okay. I'm going to get in a box.
Go ahead.
I'm going to hang from the rafters in a week or two.
Rick Rebello continues.
As I continue, go ahead and call up your uncle. Get ready. Here comes some SmackDown spoilers for later on tonight. For those of you who'd like to know what will be happening on the WWF show, here it comes. X-Pac defeats Scotty 2 Hotty. Eddie Guerrero and Rikishi is going to beat Val Venus and Taz, so look forward to that one. Matt Hardy defeats Edge. Chris Benoit.
Or Benoit.
And Big Show defeat Kane and The Rock. Bo Buchanan and The Godfather defeat the Acolytes. Steve Blackman defeats Perry Saturn. The Road Dogg defeats Brian Christopher and Triple H and Kurt Angle.
Gets divorced.
And Stephanie McMahon. Will defeat the Dudley Boys and Lita. So that's going to be a big one for tonight.
We have a guest here making her debut tonight that makes Stephanie McMahon look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, all right?
We're keeping that under wraps for now, though. That's just a teaser.
I ain't saying any more.
All right.
You said enough.
Other WWF news, everything seems pretty solid for WWF opening up on TNN come September. So if you switch to USA on a Monday night and say, what the heck's going on, you'll find that later on in your dial on TNN, you'll be watching Monday Night Raw. And once again, remember, Sunday Night Heat's going to be on MTV. So if you get confused once again, you might want to bring the dial a little bit further back and see what's on MTV. So everything's pretty rock solid with their deal right now, which leads us to ECW news. ECW right now, it seems like Paul Heyman has been in California for a couple of weeks, and he's come back, and it's tentative still on what's going to happen with them in USA Network.
Is he stable now? I mean, you know, he's pretty shaky there for a while.
The checks have been clearing.
That's the most important thing.
That's the big thing with ECW.
Is the checks have to clear.
There hasn't been any check problems as of late, from what they say, that he's only a week or so behind right now.
And just ask the guy next to you, all right? The guy with the gas bubble. All right, go ahead.
All right. But now
with the what?
The gas bubble, you big mouth. Go ahead, Rick.
Now we're going to go on to WCW news. Or, for instance, today we're going to do a little WCW NWA news, I guess you could say, for classic NWA people. Like the person I'm sitting next to right here on stage.
Right.
This week, for those of you...
Very careful how you address me, sir.
Yes, sir.
I am very sensitive, especially tonight. So if I were you, I'd exercise just a little bit of caution. All right.
Okay.
Did they take movies when you were doing wrestling? When you were wrestling? Did they ever take...
You know what? The village idiot wears a hat like that where I come from, all right? You must be the village idiot in this city. What is it called? Fall River?
Fall River.
And what is that supposed to mean?
I'll tell you about it later.
All right.
There's no free plugs here.
Very important. For those of you who probably have not watched TV at all this week, you'd have to be totally oblivious not to notice the death and the passing of Gordon Soley, probably the greatest wrestling announcer and play-by-play announcer of all time in professional wrestling. For those of you who've been watching wrestling since the 70s, with TNT, for the NWA, and Worldwide Wrestling, World Championship Wrestling, used to tune in every Saturday night. I know I did, and I'm sure a lot of other people did, and hear Gordon Soley and his great commentaries that he used to do.
Gordon Soley paid his dues. He was the voice of wrestling for many, many years, and who didn't know Gordon Soley? But like many wrestlers, I can assure you, he took his turn sleeping in the car. You know, I mean, because you went from show to show to show to show. But I think we're going to go to a.
You had cars in those days?
There's Gordon right there.
Yeah.
You had cars in your day?
Gordon actually worked for the NWA for 30 years, from the 50s until the early 60s, and then he moved over and worked. He'd actually owned a couple of raceways as well,
right.
Co-owner of a bunch of raceways, and then he bounced back and forth, did some work in different places, and then back to the NWA in the late 70s when they went on cable, and he worked with Ted Turner for quite a few years. And in the twilight of his work with WCW, he was the WCW promoter for Florida, and he promoted all of the WCW events in Florida in the early 90s through the mid 90s.
Tragically, he smoked like there was no tomorrow. So let that be a warning to anyone who wants to embrace smoking. Don't do it. Here's a classic example. Gordon Soley was still young at his age, even if he, even the fact that he was in the 70s. But the idea is a young 70. Had he not smoked, he may still be with us. So, you know, I'm anti-smoking, that's for sure. But I remember him. The last time I saw Gordon Soley was in West Warwick, Rhode Island, with Ric Flair, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yep.
Some of the classic promos of all time, interviews of all time. When you talk about Gordon Soley and Ric Flair, I mean, that's the two faces that come up to mind when you think about wrestling in the 80s, and all the great promos that were cut with those two guys bouncing back and forth to each other.
Matter of fact, one of the guys we're talking about tonight, and we're going to feature, Bruiser Brody, was a very good friend of Gordon Soley also. And a lot of wrestling fans remember Bruiser Brody. Was he a wrestler? We can debate that. He certainly liked to kick you, you know. But then well, your father kicked you off. Obviously, look what came up, you Cambodian carrot. That's what you just look like, too, a Cambodian carrot. You know what they look like, don't you? But anyway, we got Bruiser Brody we're going to be highlighting tonight. And, of course, we all know that Bruiser Brody, unfortunately, died in Puerto Rico. He was a victim of, well, I know everybody that was involved in that thing, to be honest with you. So we'll be kicking that around. And I think what we ought to do, Rick, is if you're up to speed on news, and I think you brought everybody pretty close, right? Gordon Soley.
Gordon Soley, other than that.
We want to talk about the two guests that we have, but certainly a new discovery for pro wrestling. And we're hoping that the man that we have on with us tonight certainly is going to entertain the thought of having her at some of his wrestling shows out there. But we plan on being there too. And,
what we might want to do.
You know what I'm saying, kid? I mean, Rick, you know.
What can you say?
I can't say anything. I mean, I'm tongue-tied for the first time in my life. I'm at a loss for words. The X-Man is never at a loss for words.
What do you think his face looks like under that mask?
None of your business. None of your business.
Like to know.
You what-nosed geek. You haven't changed in years. I'm telling you. I can't believe your mother and father loved you. They had to, I guess, you know, really. As I look, you are brutal. Did you get in a fight with a cat? I mean, that really can't be your face.
Tell me, when you were born, they slapped your mother instead of you.
Oh, that's really, really a low blow. I'm telling you, even for you. With that, we better go to the Bruiser match.
What we might want to do is we'll go to Bruiser, and
let's go
when we
take
come
a
back,
look at this, because
there'll be somebody else sitting in
I could be
seat.
Bruiser Brody, and you could be what's on the bottom.
Rick has changed.
Boy, oh boy. I want
What
to tell
happened
you.
to Rick?
Well, Rick had to go on to bigger and better things. He couldn't tolerate you, you monkey. That's what it was.
Will you
That's the
stop
problem.
blaming me?
I
In the
blame you.
meantime, we have a guest with us today.
Well, we have
so
a-
instead of picking on me, why don't you
No,
introduce
well,
your guest?
we're proud, certainly, to have, for all you wrestling fans that are watching the show, if you don't know this man by now, shame on you. This is one of probably the only promoter of professional wrestling in the South Coast region, northeastern New England, you name it, whatever they call this place. But who doesn't know the owner and general manager of Yankee Pro Wrestling? We've all had some connection with him at some point in time. Mr. Joe Eugenio. Welcome to the show, Joe. And
Thank you, X-Man.
always
Welcome,
good to see you,
watch
my
out when
friend.
you sign his,
How you
Excuse
doing?
me.
shake his hand.
Count
Joe.
your fingers now, brother.
We're all there still.
I'm going to tell you.
Right hand is.
Joe is what we talked about many years when we've been on radio, when we were talking on TV, when we started our show. Joe has run a very successful independent organization, but I think they're ready to shift gears now. I think they're going to be moving up big time because it's time to move up. And with all the expertise that Eugenio has and some of his wrestlers, he's got quite a stable. And certainly, Joe, you're going to be bringing him on the show so we can. A lot of people want to see him, talk to him,
occasion.
and all that. You know what I'm saying? And he's paid his dues. Let's face it. I think what he's doing, 60 shows a year now,
No, well, close to 100 now.
100 shows. Okay.
This year will be our first year that we reach that 100 mark. Every year we try to improve, and this is going to be the year that we push the 100 mark this year.
That's, you know, when you think of it, that's like one every 3-4 days. That's quite an event.
On weekends, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, double shots at times. I mean, it happens. Fairs, carnivals, local shows.
And I
big
got to
shows.
tell you, they put on a great
Oh,
show.
there's no
They
doubt.
put on a great show.
I've gone down incognito and I've watched him. And like we were talking before, like some of the major players that came from an organization, an independent. That's extremely important as a beginning. You got to get your experience somewhere. And certainly you're not unless you want to pay big bucks and go to these wrestling schools that the WCW or WWF has, which they don't guarantee you a job. But if
No,
you
they
come
don't.
to an independent league, what happens is you've got the expertise. So Rick Fuller, as a matter of fact, I was just asking before we went on the air, I was asking about Rick Fuller. And,
WCW.
he ended up in the WCW, and boy, I'll tell you, he came a long way. You know, but he started with you, Joe. I think he started with you.
He did. He started with us day one.
And I don't mind calling him Peter Belanco, who's just known as Just Incredible now. And how many times did Just Incredible wrestle at the PAL?
Well, he was when he was P.J. Walker. Everybody knows
Yeah,
him as
right.
P.J. Walker.
Yeah.
He was with us for the longest time.
Yeah, and I think he lived up in Connecticut.
He does.
And then they, you know, it's funny. I was talking to him one night, Joe, and he said that he was very afraid that time was running out, that he wasn't going to be able to make it into the major leagues per se, you know, and that was one of his biggest fears. And then he was picked up by the WWF, and then they gave him a Portuguese name.
The Man of War.
Man, oh,
Man of
Portuguese
War.
Man of War.
And they put him in a semi-mask, and then they had him in like some kind of a suit, you know, but it was the colors of the Portuguese.
exactly.
Kind of like the colors of the moron shirt over there, see, but you look
Don't
at
like the
that, what a
shirt.
way to come on television.
Don't like the shirt.
guy's
Don't like the
professing-
hat.
The guy's professing to be, I don't like you. The guy's professing to be a manager of wrestlers. Wouldn't be caught dead walking in down in a ring with you.
You'll see one of my assistants very
Fruitcake.
shortly. You'll tell me if I'm a manager.
Let me tell you something. But anyway, getting back to P.J. Walker, then he went from the WWF. I don't think he was scoring. I don't think they played him right, Joe. And you know that. You know
I thought he did very well as Portuguese Man of
You're
War.
gonna ask Joe,
Change.
you know.
They change. Change is needed to keep the attendance up high. So that's very important. We may change ourselves in a local basis, but change is very important. The ones that have that extra stay on long, the ones who just have enough, they move on.
But who's the blonde kid?
Nowhere
Was it-
to move to.
Was
That's the
it
problem.
Walsh? Was there a Walsh? He was fantastic. The Walsh boy, a kid from Pawtucket, or he was from New Hampshire, came down for you. Brian?
Brian Walsh, yes,
Yeah.
Brian Walsh.
Oh, my
Brian
God.
Walsh.
He was fantastic.
What happened to Brian Walsh, you worked so much. Back in the 80s and in the end of 70s, they were jobbers. The big companies brought these guys in from local areas and just job them out, you want to call them,
Yeah.
just to have them go over to make the big guys look good.
Oh, he was
Brian did that for so long. Brian Walsh did that for over 10 years to the point that people knew him as that. They couldn't really do anything else with him. So he was in one of those
that's
one of
too
those
bad.
positions. And it happened to a lot of guys. A lot of guys are really good.
I think he needed a gimmick, and I don't know where the gimmick might have been or laid for him, but I got to tell you, what a talented wrestler, and he reminded me of Bobby Backlund, because this Brian Walsh was a wrestler. He could do it all.
Oh,
you know
Brian's
what I'm
good.
saying? And I remember him, and so when you, like I say, when you talk about Yankee, you talk about guys that we know that made it into the major leagues. I mean, probably made some super dough while they were there, you know.
There's some guys in the top right now. Scotty Too Hotty, Scott Taylor.
Yeah, I didn't know that he had worked for you.
His
you know?
dad used to bring him down. Him and his a few friends from Maine bring him down every Saturday. We used to open our place on Saturdays, and Scott.
You know,
did his thing.
then the other aspect of what you did, you know, and of course we knew a few of the boys, numbnuts over here, and we knew, you know,
You hear the
we knew
names
a
they
few
call
of the
me,
boys.
Joe?
Wow.
Here's what we had. We had.
Then you wonder why you come to this, to sit next
Oh,
to him.
keep quiet. I'll get your wheelchair and take you back to the Papa home. Listen to me, you pantload. Just shut your mouth while I'm
What?
talking. You heard me. Here's where we go. Listen to me.
Don't push me.
All right, I'll push you. I'll push you down a hill like Richard Widmark did in that movie. But you had the Bushwhackers. You've had them in many of the shows.
Oh,
okay.
Bushwhackers are regulars.
Super guys. So I know that they've wrestled in Yankee wrestling, but they had come down one time to visit, and they loved the seafood because they owned or were part owners of a major restaurant down in Florida called Krabby Bill's. And I think there were like 14 restaurants involved. And somehow they were owners of something anyway.
Krabby Bill,
Krabby Bill.
X.
So we'll get back to you. We'll address that later. So anyway, and you know you'll pay for it. But anyway, the thing that got me is they were up here and they were looking for 4 restaurants that might have been for sale, okay? So while they were here, we took them over to the Venus de Milo, and I said, no one will bother these
I thought
guys.
you said no plugs.
No. Well, it's a restaurant. You know, it's a restaurant. You know how to get there. If not, I'll get a dog for you. He can take you there, all right? But
It's
anyway.
like I'm stuck in the middle of a ping pong game.
I'm going to tell you, I'm glad you're there because he's really got
You
my...
notice, Joe, it hasn't changed.
You know, you got my attention tonight, I'll tell you that, brother, with that hat.
Attention. Nice
We're
hat.
going to talk about that after.
hat.
But anyway, I said no one will know him in the Venus de Milo, okay? Well, Joe, we sit there, and there were like 10 people from India at the next table. They were visiting or whatever, and every one of those people from India knew who the Bushwhackers were,
How about the X-Men?
all right?
Did they know
Everybody
the
knows who
X-Men?
I am, you moron. Who don't with this mask on?
Oh, yeah.
All
They
right?
say X.
Can you see it?
Oh, I meant to
Put
bring
your
you that
bifocals on.
picture that was in our local paper
Plain as
about
a
the X-Men.
bat. Yeah.
But it's a woman.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it ain't this woman.
Are you a woman or are you a man?
Be quiet. Be very quiet. Believe me, very quiet.
Oh,
Okay. Stick around and find out, pal. Anyway, getting back to the Bushwhackers, all the people in the kitchen came out, and I don't know where the cameras came from, but that was it. Talk about taking pictures and all that. So now, Rick Sahadi, who is a principal, is he still in this city,
still
by
in
the
the
way, or
city
did
of
they
Fall
chase
River.
him out?
Oh, no.
Oh, no?
Bigger and better.
Oh, I thought maybe they threw him out. He used
no.
to be on a radio show with us, you know, complete imbecile.
Oh,
You
come
know,
on.
oh.
Guy's got a master's degree in education.
Master this, you
Look.
moron. Yeah, what?
Yeah, master's
What? He
degree
was
in
as wacky
education.
as you were.
Yeah,
I'm telling you something. You guys were twins.
Yeah.
I didn't know who the nut of your fruitcake was. All right? I'm telling you. Where's your cane? Where's your cane? You should be banging the... No, you
Left
should
it
have.
under the
You're going to
table.
need a cane
It's under the
before you
table
leave here.
till I need it.
Call 911 before you leave it. Do something with yourself, son, but you're not leaving here walking.
I'd
You're
like to
leaving
hear
here
Joe tell us
parallel
about
to the
some of his
ground.
upcoming guys.
That's what's going to happen.
I don't want to know how bad
Anyway.
you don't like me.
I'm going to take him down to the school that this Sahadi... What is he?
principal.
Oh, is that what he was?
Yeah.
I thought he was a building custodian. Well, they said to me they couldn't go. And I looked at him and I said, why not? And they said, well, it would be like a public appearance. And in the old days, we did public appearances. I mean, but they were under contract. And believe it or not, finally, Luke relented. And he said, well, as long as there's no pictures in the paper and the WWF doesn't find out, we'll go down there. And that's what. And then we went down and we visited the kids, as we have in the past. Okay?
Are they doing anything now at all?
Right now, they're overseas right now. We have 2 shows in October with them. They just canceled out because their tour got extended. So we just picked up Bruce the Bar Beefcake to fill their place. So they're all going to go. They're all over the world, not just in Mass, New England. They're all over the world.
Now, Brutus, can he still use the name? Or?
Yes, he can. That's his name. He went to court. He fought that in court,
Who's that?
and he won.
Who's that?
The Barber.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake.
You're kidding.
That's his
They
name.
wanted to keep the name.
Yeah, there was a challenge. We couldn't use him when we first came out, but he won that case in court.
But I
They
would
can use the name.
imagine now they give them the names, and that's it.
They give them the names, and that's it. When they leave,
Well,
they
the
leave. They're
names-
back to
yeah,
where
they
they
own
were,
'em.
basically.
They own it. Unless you copyright the name first.
It's a marketing
you know?
skill.
Yeah, that's what it is. But
They can
anyway,
they can
I'm
afford
looking
to
at,
market 'em.
I think we gotta, you find something funny, boy? I got gas. You got, well then you sit with this nut.
What do you
All
say?
right? He's
What do you
got
say?
gas like you. You'll get gas. Did you see that blimp out there today?
Yeah,
There's a big
must
blimp
have a
out
lot
there.
of gas, too.
No, you know, I thought that was Rishiki there.
Oh,
You know, the guy that you
oh,
like.
that
Yeah.
guy, every guy he gets,
This guy's got a
they
butt.
never show the front of him,
I'll tell
they
you
only
something.
show the back of him.
This guy's
That's
butt
the
has
thing.
got his own zip code, all right? It's that big, all right? I'm not kidding you. Anyway, I think we're going to go to a bruiser tape, and we're going to continue, and he's going to fight who? Kareem?
Kareem Muhammad.
Kareem? Who? Bobby Kareem? Is that it? No,
No, that's
Jake
Bobby
Kareem?
Kareem.
Oh, I don't know. Who? Go to the tape before the...
July 18th, 1987. And the opponent for Frank Bruiser is none other than Kareem Mohammed, one half of the Zambui Express.
Que se muevan. No, porque se están moviendo. No, ya pasé esa etapa, papito.
And we're back again, and again, as you see, Bruiser Brody, former pro wrestler, deceased now, been for a while, fighting Abdul Karim, or whatever his name was. And it was in a ring. No, it was in a ring. And those were hardcore matches. But I mean, they didn't have to break tables in them days. They broke bones. That was a different.
By the way,
By
the way, X, I was watching.
That's Mr. X.
Mr.
Don't call me X.
I'm sorry,
Call
Mr.
me
X.
Mr. X.
I was watching the other night. It was showing on, I think it was Dateline, some kids who are doing wrestling in backyards, and they're jumping onto tables, and they're really starting to sweat that.
Excuse me, my arm went to sleep listening to you talk.
Well, I'm just
All right.
talking the truth. What was on Dateline NBC?
The greatest cure to insomnia.
Is
Listen
what?
to him. All right, you'll
Right.
put anybody to sleep. All right.
But that's true, though. I mean, there's been a lot of stories on backyard wrestling. A lot of kids are getting hurt. They're going out doing things to see on TV that they're not trained in doing.
Yeah.
At least we have a training school, and all wrestlers that go through a training school learn how to fall, learn how to do the right thing,
Yeah.
so they don't get hurt their backs and
Well,
injuries.
look what it did to the
That's the
X-Men.
biggest thing.
Well, at this point here, at this
Wait a minute,
time, I guess,
what's-
because we want to bring we want to bring a rising star in
Okay.
and introduce her to our audience, and certainly Mr. Eugenio, being the
Ringmaster?
no, not a ringmaster, the general manager for Yankee Pro and South Coast, is going to want, always looks at talent, never
Always.
says no, always looks at talent.
Always looking for
We have the best talent he's seen in. Goodbye, ECW. Goodbye, WCW. The Nitro Girls. All right? WWF. Okay? We now have a young lady, brother, that's going to stop them all.
Replace Sable.
Oh, Sable is a memory. That's all she is, okay? Sable who? When we introduce, by the way, who will be coming on camera shortly, her name is Miss Plum Pudding,
Oh, I like
okay? And
Is that her real name?
is, of course it's her real name, Monkey Man. Of course it's her real name. All right? We don't bring anybody on here. Did I introduce Joe Eugenio? Did you introduce Mr. X?
Mr. X.
Lenny, low belly, right? The oxymoron of the area? Wart-nosed geek? Of course we use real names. I didn't say Lenny Kaplan, did I? That's a farce. Anyway, getting back, Joe, we need you to assess a talent that we discovered.
The cameraman had cats,
who's
too.
going to be certainly looked at by Atlantic Coast Extreme, but Yankee Pro, the dominant wrestling federation in the Northeast, we certainly want Joe Eugenio to assess for us whether or not this lovely young lady has any future in pro wrestling. And without further ado, gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Miss Plum Pudding.
All right.
Come right in, Miss Plum Pudding. All right, it's very nice. Come right in. All right.
Hi, Plum.
And you can stand right there. And certainly,
Hi, General
this is
Manager.
Joe Eugenio, General Manager for Yankee Pro Wrestling. And of course, we got the oxymoron over there, Low Belly Lenny. So, okay, boys. All right, what do you think?
Now, do you want
Now,
us to assess?
Here's the problem.
Yes.
Joe is going to figure out what wrestler this young lady has control over. We already know.
That's easy.
You know,
That's easy
you know.
to do.
Well, okay, fine.
They'll all be
You know,
jumping at us.
yeah,
The
well, there we go.
opportunity.
The fight's going to start in the
They'll all be
dressing room
jumping at the
before we get to the
opportunity.
ring.
All right.
But of course, Miss Plum Pudding herself has to make the final decision. So I think she's an extremely talented young lady. I think she's ready for the big time, Joe. And
I think we can bring him to the ring.
if we have
Well,
something. Your next match
Our
is
local show, August
yeah,
18th at
August
the PAL on
18th. Write that
Franklin
down.
Street.
Really? And have you
August
got
18th,
in
Franklin
Fall
Street.
River? All right,
Well,
she can make her debut there.
Well, I was going to invite the head-to-head show to be there on stage with us.
We'll be there.
to be there,
Thank
do
you,
some
Joe. We will.
commentary and
We
meet,
will.
and meet
That's
the
great.
fans.
That's good. Super. No problem. We have no problem with that.
And
I'm
we
not
can-
booked anywhere, and certainly he's not. He won't be. You know, his wife
August
doesn't want him.
18th, 7:30 p.m.
Put that in the book.
What I would
All
like to
right.
do
Our
is
engineer?
invite Miss
All right.
Plum Pudding,
Plum Pudding.
into the ring, bring some wrestlers, and you pick the one you want to manage,
Where are you from?
or the one you want to be the valet for.
Somerset.
If that's
That's
something
near
you want to
Fall
do.
River.
Sure it is.
That's
Right near
where,
Fall
where,
River.
where they're building the
Sure it
bridge.
is.
Yes.
Okay,
He
fine.
comes from.
And
Yeah.
are you a
Canada.
high school, it's important. Are you a high school graduate?
No.
No? Good. Then
Sure
you're
she
hired.
is. You can tell she is.
He needs
You can
somebody to
tell she is.
converse
Not
with.
yet.
Not yet, eh?
Don't
Well,
mess with him. You just.
I know, I believe you know.
So in other words,
trying-
what you
he tries
plan
to
to
get
do
you.
is give her the choice
Would
Give
you
her
like
a
to do
choice.
that? Would you like to give
of
that?
which
a shot?
wrestler she
We'll
will
bring the
marry.
wrestlers to the ring, and you
Huh?
pick the one.
All right, okay.
Want to do that?
They're gonna
That's-
go, they're gonna go.
That's a
have to
date,
go.
August 18th. That
Okay.
sounds like a plan.
Now,
Knock
do
it
you,
down.
by the way, we forgot to ask you, obviously you like wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Who doesn't
and
like wrestling?
You. Anyway,
But it pays big money.
yeah, right, that's what you like, is the money involved. Now, you're not under contract to anybody, are you?
No, not yet.
All right, well, this is
We'll
the
work on
problem. That's what I'm saying. See, the next thing you know, bingo. I mean, all of a sudden, this thing will
gonna play
just...
bingo?
No, he is.
So you're going to bingo?
He's going up to Foxwoods.
My age, I
What'll
play
happen
bingo
is
once in a
that we'll give her TV time, and then she's going to have exposure at Yankees wrestling, and then the next thing you know, we won't see her no more. She'll be big time, and goodbye Sable, goodbye China, and hello Miss Plum Pudding, and then we'll just be a memory, and that's going to hurt.
Say that.
No? Okay. Okay, see? But she's not under contract. See, Joe Eugenio threw that out. Not under contract. Listen, you moron, stop waving that banner at me in there. I know what I'm doing. I don't need to be on camera. I'm so great. But I want to give her the exposure. You want me to duck back, go forward? You got a good shot of here, cameraman? Oh, yeah. You're fired.
We have to take a shot. We
get
want
rid
all
of
the
this
people
guy,
out there
yeah.
watching the program come
My
down
God.
the 18th.
Yeah, we all
want
right
them all
now?
there.
Oh.
Come see her live,
This is
right in the ring.
brutal.
Come down and see her. August 18th.
August 18th.
How are you going to do it with
Franklin
your
This
people?
Plum Pudding.
How
will
we gonna
be
do it?
there.
You're going to get them all in the ring?
We don't,
No, we'll pick a
We don't know.
few wrestlers,
we don't know.
have them go out there,
Yeah.
and have her walk into the ring
She'll
and
make the decision.
pick the one that she wants
How
to
tall are
be
you?
the valet for.
How tall are you?
5'4".
Stand up on the platform. Let's
Now
see,
she's about
5'4".
5'10".
5'4". Stand up at 5'10". No, she looks like Nicole Bass now, except she's much prettier.
Maybe
Nicole
she could
Bass,
be in that,
your love,
yeah.
all right? Why don't you
wanna
walk
walk-
around the table right there so that everybody can see that this is a woman who takes care of herself. And let's have a little respect. Keep your mind out of the gutter, you old butt. I
She's
know
going
who
to have
you
the
are.
power over a wrestler to make this the cost for them.
There you go, it's right.
She'll have all
I'm
the power.
telling you. Well, I'm going to tell you,
Yep.
Joe,
I
if
think she'll
nothing
make
else,
it, Joe.
if nothing
think we'll
else,
do
this was absolute, I'm telling you, this was,
Oh, look at that.
without a doubt.
All you
Yeah.
people from Fall River, New Bedford,
All
whoever can
right,
see
we
the show,
Mr.
come on
Puddin' on
down.
August 18th makes your debut, and don't go nowhere. We're going
And you know
to
what?
talk to you about a contract.
The X-Man
We're gonna
has
be
been
going
saying,
to,
what's good in Fall River, New Bedford?
Hey, Monkey Man, what are you waving at me? An empty milk carton, you jerk? Oh, all right, we're going to, Miss Plum Pudding, thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Plum Pudding.
And we will be
I'm gonna
seeing a
give
lot
you
of you.
All the
She's
fans come down August 18th at the PAL Hall. Come
He
down and
wants
see her in the
Franklin.
ring.
By the way,
In the
he's
ring.
married and he's married. I'm single, so the X-Man, hey, you know.
I was married, not anymore.
I just thought I'd mention that while I had your attention. Thank you, Miss Plum Pudding, and now we're going to go to the ring again, are we,
what?
Joe? Let's
think
bring
we got a
Bruiser
winner.
Brody back.
Downtown San Juan, Puerto Rico. His opponent tonight, Grizzly Boone.
back?
Yeah,
You're talking and we're back.
You're on television, aren't you?
That don't mean anything.
What do you mean don't mean nothing?
Well, we've been on monitors before, and we were on Channel 23 in Providence.
Yeah, but here you're on.
Right?
You can see
And listen,
yourself.
when are we getting a telephone so that the fans can be calling us? They want to talk to Joe, they want to talk to
We're
me.
in the process.
They don't want to talk to you because you don't know beans about what the hell you're
We're
talking
in the
about.
process of preparing that.
Better be
Within the next
soon,
few
brother.
weeks.
I'm being grabbed by other networks, so
Now listen,
hurry
let's
up.
talk to Joe a little bit about some of the plans maybe we'll have right here,
Well,
right in this studio.
go ahead.
That's what I'm asking you. What are our plans?
Well, the studio is big enough where Joe could bring a ring in, and
Sure
we
we
could
can.
have an audience, and we could film some of the matches right here to put on Wrestling Head to Head. Or there was talk about going live here, you know. Now, I don't know what days may be available. We may have to ask the managers of the TV station, obviously. But if it was like I don't know, Joe, but I don't know when your wrestlers are available, and then we'd have to figure that out, either one night or a Saturday afternoon or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm sure that we could do it because this studio is big enough, and that's what we asked you when you came in, and you said, yeah, you got a ring that would fit this.
Sure,
and
we
then
have no problem.
we could getting back to Bruiser Brody. For a lot of people that don't know what happened to him, and maybe a lot do, of course he got stabbed in Puerto Rico, and Jose Gonzalez was the guy that and Joe, you know what happens in dressing rooms, right? I mean, a little wrestler ain't going to take much of a hit from these big guys. They're going to kill him. So these guys, I believe, what happened was he must have defended himself, or something was said as usual because.
A lot of friction in locker rooms.
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of friction.
and the same thing happened with what's Rick Flair? Oh, gee whiz, too many head drops, Joe. What is it called?
Glad you admit it.
Isn't it time for you to go and change your diapers? You and that other buck-tooth kid from Westport.
We gotta get him down one of these
Get
days,
him,
the
yeah,
buck-tooth
right,
kid
sure,
from
that
Westport.
buck-tooth, yeah, right.
Yeah.
What happened was
By the way, I
Arnie
think he might be
Anderson.
doing some wrestling.
I-
Maybe you ought to meet Joe Eugenio.
Who?
The buck-tooth from wrestling. I mean, from Westport.
Kid could eat an
Westport,
apple through.
Mass.
Kid could eat an apple through a picket fence. What's Joe want with a buck-tooth wrestler? Are you kidding? Listen,
something different.
don't interrupt while I'm talking to Joe.
You broke his
Okay.
train of thought.
You broke it. You're right. Now here's where we are.
No, ain't much.
Here's
to
where
it.
we are.
Not hard to do.
Arnie Anderson is over in London, England, and the same thing happens. Only it was with Sid Justice, okay? Or Sid Vicious, depending on what federation you're in. What happens, all right? They get into a confrontation because I've been told that Sid can be a mean, wise guy. And the next thing you know, I understand scissors were involved. Somebody stabbed somebody with the scissors, and then either Sid or Arnie Anderson went over, and he stabbed the other guy. Whatever happened. But anyway, they got thrown out. They threw him out of London, England. And that was it. But here you go back to Bruiser Brody and Jose Gonzalez. It's another stabbing. And of course, your friend, Atlas,
Tony Atlas.
Tony
was there.
Atlas,
Yep,
he was
there.
a witness, and he moved out. So without him...
back to the States.
Yeah, right. Without him testifying, there was no case against Jose Gonzalez. So
Tell us a little
scratch
bit
Bruiser
about
Brody.
Tony.
A lot of friction.
What's Tony
a lot of
doing
friction.
these days?
Tony's working real hard on the independent circuit. Made a big name for himself again. He's not with any of the major federations, but he does a lot of work on the circuit. He goes from coast to coast, basically.
Still well built, still solid.
Still, he looks like he's in his 20s. Tony looks great.
Sure.
He's always looked great. Every time he just looks the same today.
I thought he was doing great with that school up in Maine he had. The last time I talked to him, he had the bodybuilding school, and I guess he tried to teach wrestling.
He's at a gym. I know that much for a fact. He's at a gym
Yes.
out of
Okay.
in Maine, and they just did a big story on MTV on him. That's keeps on getting there, and that gave him a revamp into things. That really brought him back to life for a little while.
The
So.
worst thing they ever did to him, I believe, in the WWF, is when they brought him back as a character named Saba Simba. I could have fell over. He has this headdress on. He looked like a Zulu warrior, and he comes out with a spear and a shield. Come on.
But you know why you do some of those things?
I
You know why you do some of those things?
I know why.
Well,
To bring people to the viewers to watch. You have to have different characters, different personalities to bring people from all different types of walk of life to watch the program.
I think it was
Yes,
a tough. I think
that's
it was
all
a
that
tough
is.
go, Joe.
That's all
Joe, let me ask you, because we all know it's entertainment and most of it's planned. How do you plan a show with
Well,
your men? Do you sit down with 3 or 4 of your people? What do you do?
I mean, we have a group of individuals that work in the office that plan the activities for the show, plan on stuff before the show. A show's not a show until all the work is done prior to the show. But then there is set programs, set people who have to wrestle on top and some that don't wrestle on top, and we try to rotate around so everybody has a turn somewhat, and who's popular and who's not popular. Who brings in people to the building?
Well, you got to remember, there are
Who
some
puts
people
people in
out
the seats, exactly.
Yeah, there are people that are talented, can do it. It works for them, and there are some. It's just like baseball players, like anybody else. You try it, and some guys are going to make it, and some guys are not going to make it. What the hell?
Everybody knows about wrestling. It's stage entertainment, exactly what it is. There's a lot of hard work behind it. It takes a lot more than just an idea to climb to the top rope and jump off. You have to do it. You have to be built to do it and conditioned to take that time after time. Most of our wrestlers that we have are working 3 to 4 times a week. They're practicing, so they're keeping
You
themselves
find
together.
they all want to be the champ, or
They
they just want to
there's
have a good time.
egos
doing
and
what they're doing.
personalities everywhere. There's some people just want to do because it's a hobby, something to do. It's something to do on weekends. It's something they've always wanted to do, so they do.
Yeah,
and there's some who do because they want to go somewhere with it. No major organization will look at you, talk to you, unless you have a resume, years of experience on the circuit,
But you
on
know,
the independent circuit.
The thing with Tony Atlas, what reminded me of Anthony Quinn in the movie about the boxer, and then he became a wrestler, and they gave him a wig and a tomahawk and a blanket to go down into the ring and all that, and that kind of reminded me of that because we all knew it was Tony Atlas. He didn't have to come out looking like the Zulu king of South Africa, you know. At least that's my opinion.
But he wasn't going anywhere.
Let me tell
anymore
you
as
the
Tony Atlas.
toughest guys,
No,
Joe.
exactly.
And I don't know if you've ever had any dealings with them, but I got to tell you, the toughest guys I ever met in wrestling, in pro wrestling, were the Samoans. Bar none.
Samoans are tough.
Oh,
Samoans are very tough.
big legs, big guys. I
But
mean,
just the
take a big-
nature of Samoans,
Yeah.
that's just their make of their body.
And you
is
know
big
what?
Anyway.
Most of them can play 2 or 3 instruments. Very very.
Can they play the kazoo, do you think?
The kazoo man, really.
I wouldn't pull one of them out on a Samoan, brother. I'll tell you that. Not if you value your life. Well, I don't think so.
You don't think what, I value my
Somebody told
life?
me I had a goal. I said, no, he sold it. Believe me. Let me tell you something. No, I ain't going to tell you. Anyway, getting back
Tell
to the
him,
Samoans.
tell him.
I ain't going to tell him. I want to keep you in suspense. Samoans, if you ever looked at the size of them, like I say, they were very musically inclined, great wrestlers. They could take a lot of pain. You know, they were good at everything they did. And then if you went out to supper with them or dinner, right, like 2 kegs of beer, I shouldn't say that, but anyway, a little libation, you know,
Little what?
libation, you know. They used to drink a thing, they make it in the motel room where we stayed, Tanaka Fuji, the Samoans, right? They called it swipe. I called it swill, but they called it swipe. They would cut up all this fruit, and they'd throw orange juice in there, and God knows what the hell else, and they would mix that up, see, and then we'd go to the show. They would stay there the next day, and that night was ready to drink.
Fermented homebrew.
Oh, yeah, homebrew, that's what it was.
Homebrew.
And I got to tell you, it did the trick, because...
In a motel.
But if they were your friend, they would never hit you. They'd rip their shirts off. That was their way of showing anger. You know, I found that. Now snooker was from the Fiji Islands, and it seems they go up on the food chain. But you got to remember that Jimmy Snooker, his grandfather used to wear bones between his nose. You know, had bones in his ears. See, they're cannibals, and Jimmy Snooker is only one step down the ladder of being a cannibal. His grandfather ate your grandfather. You didn't know that.
Next time I see him, I'm going to ask him that question.
Are you a cannibal?
No.
We use him quite a bit. Next time I see him, I'm going to ask him that. I'm going to stay at a distance when I ask him that question. Joe.
Ask him. He actually told me
There's
in
a lot to
Tanaka
bite
one
on
day.
me, you know what I mean? So,
You know what? I'm going to tell you. I'm not saying that he's a cannibal, but
What I
Jimmy
mean,
Snooker,
Joe, this is what you deal with. I'm wrestling head to head.
you know, you can't stand the truth, can
They
you?
can-
You can't handle the truth.
He'll probably think
How
I'm
can you
a
say the
buffet
man
table walking. I mean, that's what he
Joe,
thinks I'm going to
I
be.
got that in a movie. How'd you like that? Did that go over good? I saw Jack Nicholson do that. You can't handle the truth. That's what he said. But
Just
anyway,
like
for
that.
you and me, you break your glasses?
No, I'm still wearing.
Looks like tape there. I don't know.
Where
I don't
tape?
think they're tough.
What are you talking about?
This guy's so broke he can't afford to pay attention. Look at him.
You like my hat?
I heard that.
Oh, wait a second.
The hat.
Now we get to the meat and potatoes of this whole 1-hour show. Do I like that hat?
Do you?
Because this is public access and a lot of people are watching it, I cannot comment except how much did you make by, I know you made money on the deal, you had to. Parade marshal? You're the parade marshal? For, what do you call it? Fall River celebrates what?
Big area, this Fall River, New Bedford.
You are the parade marshal.
Well, it was a few years ago.
What do they got you dressed
and
up
I saved
as?
the hat,
What do they got you dressed up as?
just like I am now.
King Neptune? All right, you want to see him the last show. A couple of shows ago, he comes in with a queen's hat on. The moron. I know you're a cross-dresser, but you should never have had a queen's hat on, you jerk. Now everybody
What
knows
kind of
it.
a hat on should
All
I
right.
have?
Even Mayor Mitchell didn't want nothing to do with you. We go to a time, Joe, I'm in a tuxedo, he's in a gown. Oh, you're sick. You know that, I'm telling you.
But you like that.
Anyway, go ahead, give him a plug. Forever Celebrates
no,
America.
you said it.
Who am
Forever
I?
Celebrates America.
What?
Coming up
And
next week.
What's it celebrating?
Being here in America.
What the hell? Everybody else is here in America, too. So what's
They don't
so,
wear masks
what's
like
so,
you do.
don't have to. What's so special about that?
You'll see.
They got a
Stick
wrestling
around.
show at Heritage Park
They got
that
a
night?
restaurant?
They got a wrestling show?
No, we can never get him to put a show on.
Really?
Oh, you got to
No,
change
we gotta
that.
work on
We've been
that.
trying for years.
Something is wrong.
Really?
Get that oxymoron
calls-
tree
the calls
down there.
made
I'll
every
body
year.
slam him. He'll,
Talk.
huh?
Let's think about it.
Calls made every year.
I'm serious.
Really?
All
That's a
right,
shame.
We're going to talk about
All the
it.
pro wrestling fans this city's got, New Bedford. Oh, by the way,
We're
that
making note
Joe
right
Joe was on top of that show, you know, New Bedford. That Buttonwood Park. What did they
The
call
Whaling
it?
City
The Whaling-
Festival.
Oh,
That's near Fall
What a-
River.
That's been my
Fantastic
project
show.
for years now, yep.
that was one of the. I love that. It's probably the best one I've ever been to in my life. I've never been to a better one. We look forward to
Good,
that.
I
every
appreciate
year, you
that.
know?
Good.
And there's one outstanding characteristic about that show. That there's these three fellas, sometimes four of them. I bought their tapes. I guess they're from Ecuador. They played a pan flute.
The Indians.
Yeah. Oh my God, they were
Are
fantastic.
they wrestlers or
Well,
entertainers?
they could be.
Entertainers. Beautiful music.
Just asked.
Beautiful music.
Why do you get mad when I ask you anything?
Jimmy, you taking him home tonight?
Jimmy who?
Our camera
Who,
crew.
Jimmy?
That's the entire camera crew right there. What do you mean,
All in
Jimmy?
one.
Just pay him. You don't have to know
What's his name? Jimmy what?
I call him Blackjack Chicksaw when he's off the reservation,
Oh, okay.
all right? And we got the mental midget up there.
You know, we got to do
In
something
our
with
control
wrestling
box.
in Fall River besides
Hey, mental
PAL. We're going
midget.
to look into it.
What? Why they don't have it? They got it at Wayland City Festival, which is the most successful festival on the East Coast.
Brockton
Bar
Fair,
none.
we've been at Brockton Fair.
Come to
And not
Fall River.
The
How
Pushkin's
come we don't have
Feast in
wrestling down there at
Bedford.
Heritage Park? And you know that fat guy down there. What's his name?
What's
Mike
that?
Young?
He's not a fat guy.
You're right. He's not. He's built like Tony Atlas.
Well,
If you turn him upside down, he is. But anyway, he's the park manager. And
Director.
you should call and find
Director.
out. And, you know, wrestling fans should ask this question. If
We'll check
Fall
it
River
out.
celebrates America, certainly pro wrestling is America, and Yankee Heritage ought to have its, Yankee Wrestling should have its...
which reminds me, seeing that the Republican convention is going on, Joe just told me a little something about what's going to be happening the next day or two.
Oh, yeah, right. Rocky
Today.
Johnson's on it.
Today,
Tonight?
well,
The Rock
yesterday.
is.
Rocky Johnson's
The
on it.
Rock is on.
The
The
Rock
Rock is on. He's one of the
Alright.
guest speakers.
That's
What
fantastic.
has
The Rock.
America come to?
What do you mean, what's America come to?
People love him.
A wrestling man going to be on the Republican
Fans got a lot of
convention.
talent. at that.
Republican
A lot
National
of
Convention.
talent.
There, I
Dwayne-
wasn't sure exactly what time. If he's been on already, he's going to be on sometime
Isn't
this
that
evening.
something?
But he's definitely going to be on. I'm
Maybe,
sure all the news media will carry that.
Maybe Plum Pudding could be on that.
Miss Plum Pudding?
Miss Plum
Miss Plum
Pudding.
Pudding.
Miss Plum Pudding will be signing a contract shortly, I fear. And then, you know what happens after that? It's like Sable. Millions of dollars are going to come rolling in. I'm going to tell you something. I know Joe Eugenio is going to welcome
Then I can
her on
buy a
August
new hat.
18th. Shut up for a second. Pay
I
attention.
said I'd be able to buy a new
A
hat.
new hat.
I'll give you
What-
a hat next
listen
week.
to
I'll
me.
bring a Yankee Pro Wrestling
Yeah,
hat.
will
for
you do that?
What
Okay,
happened, to,
I'll
what,
wear it.
listen, what happened to the Boy Scout hat? Did you find out that you can't get in the Boy Scouts? It's against the law. You big moron. You and Treef, I heard him by accident, by the way. You ever hear that guy on that radio station we used to be on? That's for him, all right? He's brutal. That's the guy they paid me $1,000
Has
to
to wear
throw
a
a
mask,
match.
Joe.
Joe,
So he
they
looks
paid me $1,000 to throw that match. I'm telling you, all right?
Wow.
All
He's
right.
ready to take you out
He's
again.
ready to what?
That's right. His mother wants to
His mother,
be
well, his
there
mother
this
wants to
time.
give me another $1,000.
That's
That's
right.
okay with me.
Hey, you
I
know
don't have a
something?
problem with
That
that.
picture back there should be taken off with the Macho Man. That should be plum pudding. Should
Here's
be
an
up there.
example of a guy that we might be able to get down here. We might be able to
Whoa.
get down. We're on
Whoa.
TV.
You want to be
So
on
the
TV?
thing here is, we
Who
may
was
be.
that?
Who's that? Somebody comes in the back door. What do you got? The house on fire? The building here? What do you got? Volunteer firemen coming?
That
through
was
the
a
doors?
fan coming by to see
Hey.
the show early.
look at the
That was a fan
Where's
coming by.
security when I need them?
That was a
Where
fan
is
coming by.
security when I need them? They got all kinds of security here, and they come through the back door.
There was a
This
fan.
is brutal.
Well,
That's
free. The back
That's
door's
when you
free.
go to shows. You go to shows, fans, they want to sneak in everywhere. They're just,
That's it.
Things are going to have
But
to
we're going to
change.
do that, Joe. We got to bring the ring in here. We got to have some live action in here. Get the telephone,
next-
talk it up.
you tell me when.
These people already
You tell
think
me
there's a
when.
ring here.
Tell me when.
Yep.
These people think there's
We
a
have a
ring.
very
They think there's a
important
wrestling
date coming
show.
up there, Mr. X.
Yes, what is it?
August 18th.
At
Miss
PAL.
Plum Pudding in
At
New
the
Bedford.
PAL. Is
In
that the
New
PAL?
Bedford.
And New Bedford's another one. Oh, we're
In
gonna
New
have it
Bedford,
in New
Miss
See that?
Plum Pudding in
All right.
Fall River,
Yeah.
PAL, August 18th.
August
She's going to
18th.
be in the ring. She's going to pick a wrestler that she wants to be the valet for or manager.
Why
I'm
don't
going
you
to give it a
bring-
choice.
Why don't you bring Miss Plum
I'm
Pudding?
going to give it a
Yeah,
choice.
Good for you.
We want you guys there live
Yeah,
on
we'll
stage.
be- I wouldn't miss that for a bet. You guys
Get some autographs of the
crowd
people.
will
Meet
go
them.
crazy.
I'm going to add one more. I'm going to add one more
Go
thing
ahead.
for you guys.
Go ahead.
Anyone that comes through the door August 18th and says that they saw this program, we'll give them a free Yankee Pro Wrestling cap,
Can't beat that.
hat.
Can't
How
beat
about
that.
Free hat.
that? Oh.
Can't beat that. Here comes your new protege,
They
Joe.
have to come through the door and mention they saw head to head.
Hey, here's Miss Plum
Here
Pudding.
she is now.
Come
on.
August 18th. Come down and
Plum
see
Pudding.
Miss
She's gonna
Plum
make her
Pudding.
debut
August
August
18th.
18th.
Oh, yeah, and
You
you're
don't
gonna
want-
be there,
you
right?
don't want to miss this.
Oh, we'll have to be there.
Yeah, we'll bring
August
the
18th.
Yeah, August 18th
Oof.
at the
Mention
PAL.
head to head.
At
You
the
get a free
wrestling,
hat.
we'll be
Head to
there.
head and Eugenio.
That's
And
it.
no, just head to head. Head to head, we'll give you a free, beautiful embroidered Yankee
Mamma
Pro
mia.
Wrestling cap. $10 value, $10 value.
Okay.
August
The
18th.
embroidery is worth $10.
What more can we say after this dynamite show of Wrestling Head to Head with,
Hey, Joe,
with
such a
Wrestling
pleasure
Northeast
having you
Wrestling
here.
superstar Joe Eugenio, General
Thanks.
Manager? We certainly will be seeing more Joe on Wrestling Head to Head, and we'll be at Yankee Pro Wrestling and whatever. And
Can
we
I
hope
just-
you
can I
all
just
have-
plug this one
Sure,
more
go
thing?
ahead.
South Coast Championship Wrestling at Seaconk at the American Legion on August 11th. That's my smaller company, August 11th,
Be there.
American Legion in
We'll
Seaconk.
be there. You be there. We'll be looking for you. That's it, sports fan. Good night until then. Goodbye. And you.